Today's topic would be Newton's third law of motion, right? This law by statement says that to every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. I'm going to discuss this statement later when I'll talk about the action and reaction. So for now, we'll discuss to every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. What does it mean? It means that if you have two forces, one force is applied on one object, then it would mean that that other object would also apply a certain force on the first object, right? So whenever one object exerts a force on other object, then the other object also applies force on the first object. So how does it happen? Remember that whenever one object applies force on another object, let's take an example of this foot. Let's suppose you are kicking a football. In this case, the first object is your foot and the second object is your football. And your foot, we call this object A, and we call the ball as object B. Then if the foot applies force on that ball, then that ball would also apply a certain force on that foot. ठीक है? In this case, और ये force किस वजह से generate होती है? That is because of change in inertia. Of course, मैंने आपको पहले ही बताया था that whenever we try to change the state of the body, that inertia will try to resist that change. Then in this case, you are trying to apply force on this body. Of course, the inertia of this body or the football will try to oppose that motion. It will try to oppose that force. Therefore, this force is actually applied by the inertia of that object. So in this case, these two forces are equal in magnitude. इसका मतलब ये है, if I'm applying like 10 newtons force, this foot is applying 10 newtons force, then this ball would also apply a 10 newton force, right? So these two forces are exactly equal in magnitude, but these two forces are opposite in direction. What does it mean? It means that I'm applying 10 newton force by my foot, and this ball also applies 10 newton force on my foot, right? But in this case, the direction of force that is applied by the foot on the ball is, this is the direction. But the direction in which this ball applies force on this foot is, it goes like this. In this case, this direction and this direction are actually totally opposite to one another. If FAB is the force exerted by the object A on the object B, right? So हमने क्या किया, हमने force को अपना name दे दिया, that A जो भी force लगाएगा B पे, उसे हमने क्या कहा, हमने कह दिया that force is called FAB, and this force would be written with this arrow. Okay, this becomes FAB because due to this force, there is motion on this in this football. So the force that is applied by the object A on the object B, right, is towards the right, and the force that is applied by the object B on object A is towards the left, and this force is called FA, and FBA is the force exerted by object B on object A. So FAB is the force applied by A on B. FBA is the force applied by B on A, right? In this case, remember that the magnitude of these forces would be the same. अगर एक साइड से 10 न्यूटन फोर्स लग रही है, then दूसरी साइड से भी 10 न्यूटन फोर्स लगेगी. अगर एक साइड से मैं 5 न्यूटन फोर्स अप्लाई कर रही हूँ, then दूसरा ऑब्जेक्ट भी मुझे 5 न्यूटन फोर्स ही अप्लाई करेगा. Therefore, FAB is equal to FBA, जितनी FAB में प्रोवाइड करूँगी उतना ही मुझे FBA मिलेगा. But I have this negative sign over here. Okay, this negative sign shows that the direction of these two forces are actually opposite in direction. So negative force sign का और कोई मतलब नहीं है. It just means that ये indicate करने के लिए यूज़ होता है. जब यूजली हम लोग जब भी negative sign यूज़ करते हैं intentionally, then it would mean that the direction of that quantity is opposite to the other. So in this case FAB इज इक्वल टू FBA. मैग्नीट्यूड में दोनों सेम है बट डायरेक्शन में ऑपोजिट है. ये हमें कैसे पता चलेगा? बिकॉज वी हैव नेगेटिव साइन विद वन क्वांटिटी एंड पॉजिटिव साइन with the other quantity. Therefore, FAB is in the positive direction, FBA is in the negative direction. Both are acting in opposite directions. Clear? Next point is that Sir Isaac Newton called these forces as a pair of action and reaction. Let's suppose take the example of that football again. If I kick that football with my foot, that is the action that I'm doing. The reaction would be the force applied by the football on my foot. Okay, so the force that I'm applying is the action, and the force that the ball is applying after I apply that force, of course, is the reaction. So Sir Isaac Newton actually called these two forces, because they occur at the same time, he called these forces as a pair of action and reaction, or action reaction pair. Okay, coming towards the example, there are many real life examples that you can think of. We are going to discuss one. For example, if we push a table with our hands change shape in the direction in the opposite direction. This is due to the action reaction pair. Let's suppose okay, I'm just trying to push a table. Then in that case, let's suppose this is the edge of that table. In this case, whenever I push that edge with my hand would start to D shape like this. Okay, my hand would start to just D shape like this. Why does this happen? This is because of the force that this edge is applying on my hand, on my palm. Okay, so whenever you push one object, that object would also try to push you with the same force. That is why जब भी आप किसी चीज़ को पुश करते हैं तो आपको अपने हाथ पर भी एक फोर्स फील होती है, और जितना ज़्यादा फोर्स अप्लाई करते जाते हैं आपके अपने हैंड्स को भी उतनी ज़्यादा फोर्स आप के हैंड्स एक्सपीरियंस करते हैं. This kind of force is called, or this kind of pair of forces is called the action reaction pair. जो force आप टेबल पर लगाएंगे that would be the action. जो force टेबल आप पर apply करिए that would be the reaction. Okay, the force exerted by our hands is the action, and the force exerted by the table on our hands is the reaction. Okay, so जो भी आप टेबल पर फोर्स अप्लाई करें, दैट इज योर एक्शन, दैट इज योर व्हाट यू आर डूइंग. द रिएक्शन वुड बी द फोर्स अप्लाइड बाय दैट टेबल to stop you from applying force, the force applied by that table in just the opposite direction. Okay, so usually जब भी आप किसी चीज़ पे फोर्स अप्लाई करते हैं आपको एक opposite force फील होती है, आपको एक बैकवर्ड पुश फील होता है. दैट इज बिकॉज ऑफ द रिएक्शन फोर्स. दे बोथ एक्ट इन द opposite direction. Remember that this is the law, this is Newton's law. Okay, whenever you apply force, there will be another force that would be applied upon you, right? So if you apply a force on one object, that object would apply the force upon you, and the direction of these forces would be just opposite in direction. So now coming towards the first point, which is the statement of this law: to every action there is an opposite equal and opposite reaction. Now you would be able to understand this. For every action, or for every action, whenever we do some kind of action means the application of force. Okay, so whenever we apply force, or whenever we do some kind of action on something, there is an equal and opposite reaction. Equal means equal in magnitude. Okay, so अगर मैं 5 न्यूटन फोर्स अप्लाई कर रही हूँ, then जो मुझे रिएक्शन में फोर्स मिलेगी, that would also be 5 newtons. So there, for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. Opposite because the forces, the action and reaction forces would act in just opposite direction. Okay, so if you just face any difficulty, do let me know in the comments. This was all for today. Thank you so much, everyone.